Woo! It was messy this episode. What's up, y'all? It's your girl Cameron, and I'm back with another Insecure review. If you're new here, make sure you subscribe down below to my channel, like this video, share the video with all your friends, and most importantly, I want to know what y'all thought about this episode. Leave them comments down below. Let's get into some dialogue about what's happening. All right, so I just want to make sure I highlight a couple things because I always forget when I do these reviews and commentaries, like guest appearances and like hidden gems and goose eggs and foreshadowing, and I'm switching up the way I do these reviews and commentaries, making them a little bit more intentional, a little bit more, you know, juicier with like the facts and the knowledge, right? I don't just want to just rush through these reviews, right? So our guest appearances, Robin Thede, y'all know her from, she had her own talk show on BET and she did a Black Lady sketch show. She's hilarious. She was also hilarious in this episode. So it was cool to see her. Wendy Raquel Robinson from The Game, from Steve Harvey's show, from probably every black movie you could think of. She was in it, still looking good. I'm trying to figure out why she's playing Issa and them's mama, but okay, whatever, I guess. I mean, whatever. I don't know if she's supposed to be Nigerian in the show, but I think in real life, her dad is the one who's Nigerian. I think, I don't know. But Wendy Raquel's there. And then, I don't know if everybody realized that that was Masika on the couch. Did y'all realize that that was Masika with the clear pumps on at Molly's house? Maybe it was just me, but that was Masika. Like Rock say with the Joker face. But I mean, she's looking better these days. She's looking better. All right, so there was a lot of different themes, a lot of different goose eggs and talking points in this episode, and a whole lot of mess. All right, so Candola and Lawrence are in bed, and she has one of these annoying alarm clocks. I know a lot of us, we can't get up, right? We need, we need a like tornado, hurricane type, sound the alarm type thing, right? And so she has that, and you know, Lawrence is shocked, but this is just like when you're with somebody and you're learning their ways and their things that they do. Lawrence is practicing in the mirror for an interview that he's going to have. I guess he wants a promotion, right, at work. So, you know, they're kind of kissing on each other, flirting, and I'm just like wondering, did everybody brush their teeth? Because gross. And you know, Lawrence is asking Candola about Thanksgiving and finds out that Condola's having a Friendsgiving. Now, I want y'all to pay attention to the fact that Candola says, I'm having this Thanksgiving, I'm doing this with my friends. Lawrence says, oh, do you want me to come? Okay, my very first thing here. If somebody wants you to come, they will ask that you come. You will know about it prior to, what is this, like a day or two before? You'll know about it. And you know, it'll be a thing, okay, right? But because she did not say nothing to him about it, and Condola's this nice person, you know, she's very sure about a lot of things in her life, I think that's where the confusion comes in for Lawrence, because he assumes that because she's nice and because she kisses on me and she likes to be around me, then we're here in my mind. So this is evidence of being two different places in a relationship or in a situationship. There's that word again, right? And so that's why it's very important when you're talking to someone, when you're messing around with someone, when you're deciding, okay, we going steady, we making this a thing, to have the conversation to understand what you both want, okay? Prime example, you get married to someone, you find out you don't want kids, they want kids. Now you're married, what are you gonna do? Somebody's gotta fold, right? So it's important to have these conversations in the very beginning. So had Lawrence have had a conversation with Candola where he asked, you know, you have been divorced, so are you trying to be married again one day? Are you trying, is this between us gonna be serious? Are we just playing around? Is this just a buddy type of relationship? What are we doing? And I believe that if you're honest enough with yourself, you'll be able to say, well, I don't want nothing serious. I did just get out of something a year ago, so this, while my intentions are not to stop it from getting serious, that is not what I'm looking for at this time. You have to be clear and intentional when you get into stuff with people, because then you can avoid the mess that ensued later on. Okay? Just a little tidbit, just letting y'all know. All right. So Lawrence is commiserating with Chad because he leaves his job and the secretary girl's acting funky. But basically an investor has pulled out and they're talking about now potentially laying people off because they don't have the money. Lawrence feels like he won't lose his job specifically because he meets the quota. Okay. The black male, check. We got one. Hispanic female, we got one. That type of quota. What you hope and pray businesses don't have, but most have. Okay, so he's talking to Chad and he's kind of feeling down on himself because he wanted to get promoted. He wanted to move up because Candola has now challenged him in the way that he sees himself. Okay, Condola's doing great. She's established. She's sure of herself and all of that. And Lawrence wants the same thing. Now, we get this moment later on where Issa feels like, Condola's reaping all the benefits of what she should have had with Lawrence, because when she was with Lawrence, he had the potential and he hadn't gotten there yet, right? I'm gonna tell y'all why this is Jesus, y'all had some Doritos before this video and my throat. Okay, but I'm gonna tell y'all why later. This is not healthy thinking. Okay, I'm gonna tell y'all why later. Okay, so hold on to that. But anyway, Chad is just being a good friend in his own little Chad way and letting him know, you gotta look at, where you was at a year ago and where you are at now. Stop trying to get to where somebody else is at, amen, and focus on where you have came from and where you are going. Come on, I'm going somewhere, okay? Because remember, Lawrence was bumming and slumming it, on couches, and he couldn't figure it out, and he was, up under Issa. He was working at Best Buy. He was banging it out with Tasha, sending her all kind of mixed signals and stuff. And it's like, now you have a job, you have all these things, you're doing it. And, that's when Lawrence kind of realizes, okay, Chad, you speaking real truth. But why you riding around in a Range Rover? I got my Jaguar that I don't have to pay nothing on. I don't have to, although it looks raggedy to you and you think I'm embarrassing Candola, you are paying a crazy car note while I just don't have. And honestly, although I love my Jeep, I love my car, not having a car note it's probably the thing I miss the most. That 98 Corolla that I had, I wish I would have kept it. We have to be more, as people of color, we have to be more ownership minded, okay? If I would have kept that car, I would have had a nice, my papa got me that car. It ran great. The gas was, you just have to be more, it's just not in us. We just be wanting the nice things, the fancy things to try to keep up, Anyway, I'm not talking about you, Silk. I'm not talking, y'all, I named my car. But anyway, it just kind of just lets you know that we all do this, right? We got to have the best hair, and we got to have the best lashes, and the best car, and the best shoes. And it's just how black people are. That's how we express ourselves, through style, and that's our culture, right? So Issa is at this tea spot, and I don't think this was her coffee shop, but I feel like it wouldn't be far off to assume that it is her coffee shop. But anyway, she's at the tea spot and she's, watching Finding, which we find out is a series. So they have Finding LaToya, and now it's like Finding, I want to say Jaquan, I don't know. But she's watching it, and Lawrence walks in. Okay, and you automatically see this chemistry between them, and y'all know I've been saying, and I don't know if y'all follow me on Twitter, but I've been saying they getting back together, okay? If they're not getting back together, they hooking back up. Oh my gosh. If they not hooking up, they hanging back out. It's something. Something is gonna go down, because I'm telling you, when you have the same circle of friends like they do, they're not ever gonna not be around they're not gonna ever go a whole year without being around each other. Somebody gonna have a baby. Somebody gonna get married. Somebody gonna have a birthday. They gonna be together. Tiffany and Derek are the ones that bring them together most of the time. But if Chad gets married, they all gonna be there. If Kelly gets married, they all gonna be there. You see what I'm saying? So it's kind of like, I'm sure it's feasible, it's doable to move past, but you got to really put in the effort, right? So they see each other at this tea spot. Candola walks in between their little banter, and of course she doesn't get it. She's not on the same humor wavelength because she ain't been with Lawrence as long, right? And you know, he spoils the show for her. She's sitting in Condola's spot because, you know, she really likes the spot, and this is just all these awkward things going on. She basically takes her food that was for there to go. She takes one last lingering look, and that's how we know she wants that old thing back, right? So I'm just like, before the end of the episode, I'm like, okay, I see that Issa wants it. Does Lawrence want it? And then does Lawrence only end up wanting the old thing back because he realizes Condola's not that serious? Like, we have to realize that things happen, like they are linked to other things. They're not just standalone things by themselves. They are linked and occur within other things. I wish this was the accordion thing, right? But they're all linked. They all happen together. That was great. So I hope that shows. Stop barking. Glory be. I feel like he barked at all the wrong times. All right, so Molly and Issa are in the grocery store, and this is a Thanksgiving episode, so I think I already said that. But basically, we're gearing up for Thanksgiving. Issa's gonna go to her home, and we see like this kind of like what we're in now of technology. You know, we're watching everybody's IG story, and the thing about it is, this is what you do during the holidays, right? You be with your family and you be doing your thing, but you be checking on what your friends are doing and what different people are doing by their Instagram stories. So you got Kelly. She's having this reunion of all the aunts. We also see that Trina and her son come over, which is one of Issa's tenants. She comes over. Let me see. Tiffany and Derek are doing their own little coupley, you know, Thanksgiving. Chad, I don't know what he was doing because we didn't see him on the Instagram story. Issa and her brother were supposed to go to her mom's, but they end up doing like their own little like Mexican themed Thanksgiving, and Molly's going to her family's house. Okay, so Molly does this like 7-layer dip, right? So she's buying these avocados, and her and Issa are just kind of talking and walking through the store. Now, Molly is toying with the idea of inviting Andrew, who she's been talking to for 2-3 months. Now, mind you, Coachella was like, what, May? You know, they meet each other. It might have been earlier than that. You know, they go out, whatever. And then, you know, now Thanksgiving is November. So they really only been talking about 2-3 months. And Molly's trying to decide, should she bring him for Thanksgiving? Now, my thing is the fact that Molly rests the whole decision of whether or not he should come when her and Issa are already kind of funky on Issa's opinion. I'm not doing that. Like, I understand they're best friends. I understand they're like really close and they ask for each other's advice. But if I want to do something, I'm gonna do it. And that's what Molly's mom tells her later on. Now, I think that the reason why she had reservations is probably more because Andrew's not that open. They just got serious, you know, or just made it plain and decided like, okay, we're doing this. Andrews hasn't been that open yet that we've seen. So it's kind of like, it should be those reasons why you wouldn't invite him, you know, as the only girl here with your brothers, you know, and he's Asian and you know how your family be acting, and you got issues with your dad, and you're supposed to have this talk with Issa. So it's like those reasons would be the reasons why Andrew not coming. Okay, so then Molly, you know, they're kind of jabbing at each other. And so Molly's thing is whether Andrew should come. Issa's thing is she's seen Lawrence and Candola. She's fine with it. Issa feels like, you know, you and Andrew, you know, are you gonna scare him off? And Molly's thing is, what is this throuple you participating in? Issa brings up Dro. It's a whole thing. And I want them to bring back the Dro storyline. I want to know Did old girl know? I don't think Dro's wife knew. Like, y'all, I really don't think she knew. And if y'all could just write it in the story real quick so I could be right, I really don't think she knew. Because they never had a conversation woman to woman to say, this is what we doing, right? All right. So, and they might see each other because Christmas is coming up. Okay, so we are gearing up for everyone's Thanksgiving. Molly and Issa decide they're gonna talk on Thanksgiving night over this pie, right? Like the Golden Girls with cheesecake. Okay, so let me see where I want to go, who I want to start with. I mean, because this is really just mostly about like Molly's side and Issa's side, what's happening. So maybe I'll start with Lawrence. So Lawrence goes over to Condola's, because my notes stopped. He goes over to Condola's and he is wearing what he thinks is a really nice shirt, and he is ready to help out. And Candola has like all the fixings out. She's dressed, she has her edges tied up. And the thing that is confusing about Candola is she's like all in his face and so lovey-dovey, but it's like, it's clearly, we find out later that Lawrence is an itch that she needs to scratch, or, you know, he's just a person to be around. Like, clearly she cares because she's a nice person. But I'm like, I don't know if I remember being this nice to someone, or this like open and free and nice and flirty with someone that I wasn't trying to be serious with. So that to me is kind of sending mixed signals. I'm not saying that you should be mean and cold, but just laying it all out there as if like you're, I don't know. Y'all let me know about that one. I feel like Condola's doing a lot. So Lawrence sees this drippy sink that Candola was talking about. He decided he gonna be handyman, and I'm like, Lawrence is really trying to step up for Candola, and he was not doing that for Issa. But you know, the thing is, he got comfortable like we all do. A 5-year relationship in your 20s, there's so much formulation and progression and struggle and triumphs that are happening. And when you're with someone during that, y'all either are real about it and going through it together and calling out things, or somebody else is growing, somebody else is stagnant, and it just doesn't work. That's why I'd be like, your 20s, you got to live them things out. You got to live them things out, because in the beginning they're fresh, right? You're figuring out that you're an adult now, and you are accountable and liable for a lot of the things that you was not as a child, right? And then, you know, you're partying, you're having a good time because you're reaping the rewards of being an adult. And then as you travel through, you're kind of like, okay, I should be doing something. I should have like substantial things that are going on in my life. And then when you realize that you don't, you're just like, you start comparing, you start looking around, and then you kind of start to cower in. Like, these are normal things for your 20s. So to do that in a relationship, I'm not saying that it can't be done. I'm not saying that you won't make it, but I'm saying that you have to acknowledge that there's growth that needs to go down for the both of us, and they don't necessarily go together. I might grow, and you might grow like this. And it's not my job to reach down, but it is my job to say, like, this is my growth, and say to you, your growth is what's for you. It's not beneath or below me because you grew slower than mine. Your growth is your growth, right? So I think that this whole conversation off Lawrence fixing this thing, I think that Lawrence is having a realization, because this woman who's so together has entered his life, he's questioning his own togetherness, which is a normal thing to do. But like Issa said, why you doing this so late though, bruh? Like, I tried to show you, I tried to tell you, and it just wasn't, you wasn't getting it. Okay, so we see Candola with all her friends, and you know, everyone's so established and so nice, and you know, everybody's exchanging, you know, jokes. And then we get Robin Thede, the drunk friend who's telling it all. And this is how Lawrence finds out that he's not moving in the direction that he's moving in with Candola, right? And you know, of course, the friend don't always have it the most sensible way. You know, she kind of put it on him real rough. And then of course Lawrence brings it to her when they're cleaning in the most emotion-filled way, right? And then the sink explodes. We realize he did not fix it with his pimp how-to video on YouTube. But it just kind of shows you that conversations are needed. And if you did not know, now you know, okay? You have to have these conversations, because I'm gonna just say, I didn't know. I had lots of relationships where I was just like, just so happy to be talking to a man, or just so happy to be talking to a man that was fine with talking on the phone, or we were going out on dates, or, you know, because of what you had, you appreciate more what somebody else gives you, what should be normal, what should be the standard, what should be norm, right? So you you skip over the conversations and calling things out because you're afraid that it'll scare people off. But the older that you get, the more you want to be honest about what you're doing, because you don't want time wasted, right? Okay, I feel like I'm scolding y'all and scolding me. I mean, I'm married now. We had the conversations, we knew, but that's because I knew what it was like to not have the conversation. So I made it a standard of mine to say, Cameron, you are going to speak up, and you are going to ask the questions that you want to know. And then you're not going to be judgmental about the answers because you have the questions. That's another thing. When you ask the questions, don't be judgmental about the answer. Be honest with how you feel, but then also make room for some flexibility and understanding that everybody ain't out here just perfect. Nobody's out here perfect, okay? All right. Okay, so we got that situation. Issa and her brother, y'all, them Doritos just messed me up. Issa and her brother, you know, they walk up on their mom's house. The stepdad, or, you know, the mom's boyfriend, he done slipped on some gravy and he's headed to the hospital. So the mom would like for them to go in the house and, you know, spend the Thanksgiving with the family. They ain't do that. They had their own Thanksgiving down at the Mexican restaurant, which it looks like life, okay? It looks like, I mean, they had the fajitas popping, they had the margaritas popping, they had the Thanksgiving, the Spanish Thanksgiving song. That would have been my type of Thanksgiving, right? But we see a different side of, what is her brother's name? Don't it start with an A? I just forgot his name. Okay, we see a different side of her brother on the show. He is clearly in therapy. He is not being the mean, nasty one as he usually has been in the past seasons. But he's just kind of talking to Issa, seeing how she's been. And, you know, they're talking about how Thanksgiving usually is. And they're able to kind of get some things out. One thing that they talked about that, you know, irks my soul. If you've been watching me, you already know how I feel about equality in the LGBTQ community. Her brother mentions how, you know, they would have these prayers, and because I think Issa's talking about being herself, or, you know, wanting to be yourself and things. And, you know, the brother says, like, you know, I'm just glad that we don't have to sit through this passive aggressive prayer where they're like, you know, something here is not like the other, and, you know, just like the black goes with white, or the you know, things go together, and man goes with woman, you know, them shady prayers. I can't even get the context off enough for y'all, but basically it's a shady prayer, and it just leans into this problem within the black community and the church community, the black church community, of homophobia, toxic masculinity, and judging people and casting people out of the church, and, you know, just it's too much. Just make it stop. Just make it stop. You know, he's able to laugh at it now, and he's having therapy, and so he's able to laugh at it. But the thing about it is, my good black church people, there's a lot of pain that you put on the community when you cast them out like that. When you invite them to church and you have your whole message is slandering and putting down people for who they love, right? And that's where I'm gonna leave it at. Okay, so they have that conversation. He's basically just telling Issa, you know, we don't have to do these things that we were raised to believe that we had to. Okay, as Black people, we have been raised to serve and be hospitable and give till it's empty. I'm not gonna dump this out, but give until it's empty. This whole notion of being able to give to where you still have some, we have not been teaching that. We have not been learning that. Okay, we have been told to give it all to other people. Give and give and give and give and give. And that is not a realistic, it's just not realistic. It's just not, it's not feasible to give your all and have none for you and yours. Okay? So that's kind of what brother is telling Issa. And you can tell that he didn't learn that at home. He didn't learn that through upbringing. He's in his 20s and he had to work through that on his own. And that's another thing that, you know, us millennials are realizing is we can't go back and blame stuff on generational curses and on, you know, what happened when I was growing up, because now you are responsible, you are accountable for you. And so you are responsible to dig and find out what happened, what's going on, let me fix, let me do the work. And so that's what Amal is doing. And so he's just telling Issa, you know, even if you can't afford therapy, I always say write in a book, write it down, right? And you got to start doing the work. You got to start doing the work, because this leads into my next point. Parents are just people who had kids. Now they have a whole lot more to them, but I think what Derek and Tiffany are showing us, and what you should be able to see through the show, is that parents are just people who had kids. And most of our parents did it before Google, before YouTube, before all these resources around to help you have kids. So going back and blaming them for things, it's not productive, right? And so Molly, you know, going home and still having this thing against her dad, because if you remember, her dad cheated on her mom with, I don't know with who, but basically she found this out at the anniversary thing, right? And she was so hurt and so distraught. And so one of my themes was, we got to stop placing parents on, and grandparents and great-grandparents on this like godly level, like next to God, as if they cannot make mistakes. Because then when you find out, your whole world is crushed. Everything you knew and you thought that you believed is questioned, and you cannot forgive and you cannot move past. Okay, so and her brother kind of gives her that talk, like, our dad is just a dude that had kids, and he makes mistakes just like other people. Like, he was young before, he's just an older dude now, and so you did not get to see none of that. And I think we forget that as kids. Parents also forget that too, you know, when they're giving out the rhetoric of, you know, them knowing all. You know, just because we weren't around or a camera wasn't on your whole life, there were times when you did not know things, and it's okay to admit that, right? And so we see that through this situation with Molly. You know, Issa ends up not going over to Molly. It's still very awkward between them. We see in the coming episodes, things are going to get real funky real fast between them. And Issa gonna be meeting up with Lawrence quite a few times, okay? All right, so I wanted to get into this conversation about Issa and Lawrence. Okay, so Issa tells her brother, and this is her just being honest and fleshing out her feelings. And even if she wrote down in her book, or if she said to a therapist, it would not change the fact that she feels this way. So I'm not saying that your feelings are wrong. I'm not saying that your feelings are wrong or that Issa's feelings are wrong. I'm saying that there's some narcissism involved when you start to believe that someone else's growth is because of you. Now, she didn't really say it in that many words, but she did feel like, wow, this girl is with the person that I was waiting for him to become. But is it fair for her to say that when Lawrence would not have become who he is if he did not go through what he went through? If he did not sit on the couch with Issa and get cheated on and work at Best Buy and meet Tasha, who saw something in him, but he wasn't ready to be with her, but was messing with her as like a rebound, and then was able to get this job, and then had the girl he was messing with at work, and then would he be Lawrence now without all of that? And the answer is no. Would Issa be the Issa that she is if she didn't go from cheating with someone, trying to make it work with him, realizing that she didn't want that, staying on his couch, messing with Nate, like all these things? Like, would she be where she's at and who she is? Would she still be working for We Got Y'all? Probably. Things have to happen. I think if you look at it as being 21 versus being like 26, like things have to happen that you let go, and you're fine now at 26 because you've gone through the seasons, you've gone through the obstacles, and you've shifted and you've grown. And then what they say is, if you love something, let it go, and if it comes back, then that's how you'll know. Marcus Houston, that's Marcus Houston, okay? Circles, okay? So if Lawrence is for Issa at this time, it would be because they've gone through what they've gone through. Now, was Issa wrong for cheating? Yes, she should have just said. Remember how awkward she was when all that was going on? She should have just said. But the thing about it is, she was so comfortable. They both were so comfortable at the, the person being there. 5 years is a long time, right? But when you start to grow and do different things in your life, it is uncomfortable. And that person who knows you, just like I told y'all last week, they might hold you back unknowingly. Okay, so they had to break it off. And because of, what you're used to, or because of the respect or the love that you have for the other person, she may not have known how to just say, I'm not happy. I cannot do this. We need to take a break. She probably didn't know how to do that. So, oh no. Y'all, somebody left their 4-year-old child in a hot car around here. Jesus Christ. Okay, so, why don't I drink this water that's been sitting here this whole time? So, because of all that, each person was able to grow. Now, do I feel like they're ready for each other now? Yeah, I feel like they are both ready to take on what they want in life creatively. They both understand rejection. They both understand themselves a little bit more. And we see a light occurring. Now, hopefully, they can get back to one another, because I think what everybody was hoping was that Issa was going to be out here dating and doing her thing, but we've seen that Issa she's not a good candidate of the whole phase, okay? She don't really know how to do it, and she probably prefers to be in a relationship, right? And a lot of us are like that, but the thing about it is, you have to be honest with the person when you're in a relationship, when you don't know how things are going, when you don't want this, when you do want that. Like, you have to say, you gotta say, okay? Let me see if there was anything else. I think that was it. So y'all let me know down in the comments what you thought about this week's episode. I'm Kemaray. This is Kemaray Music TV. If you have not, make sure you go to my website to purchase a t-shirt. I have Wash Your Hands t-shirts. I have JTFIO, which is just trying to figure it out t-shirts for my podcast. And I also have Vision Clear Like the Year t-shirts that are for the new year 2020 that has been quite a ride, okay? I'll see you guys next time. Do all the stuff down below. And y'all take care of yourself in this stay-at-home order quarantine.